There's a difference between a bad boss and a toxic boss. Both are not great, but I'm telling you, one is much better than the other. I'm going to break that down to you in this video here. And let me tell you a little bit about how this came about. In fact, one day I was thinking through different leaders that I've had in my life over the span of my career, and some were better than others. But I had one boss, and it was hard for me to know where to put them. Because on one hand, they were incredibly talented, incredibly charismatic. They had this amazing talent that they could walk into a room, light it up, make people laugh, make people feel amazing and great. And then other days, they would show up at the staff meeting where we're reporting our numbers, and they could be incredibly disrespectful, demeaning, even degrading in the things that they said. And when I thought back in my history, I was like, where do I put this person, in my own personal catalog of good boss, bad boss? And that's when it hit me. There's something called a toxic boss. And toxic bosses are incredibly damaging for people. It's a little bit like an abusive relationship, where if somebody's in an abusive relationship and then their friends around them, they're like, why are you still there? Like, why are you still with this person? Like, there's such a terrible person. But the person in there, they feel conflicted because, like, well, they're not, yes, they're terrible at times, but then they're amazing at times. And it creates this really dangerous dynamic that's easy to get caught in. Well, the same thing happens in work. And not only have I experienced it in my life, I've seen other people experience it. And when you have a toxic boss, and that could be because they are narcissistic, it could be because there's a certain personality disorder they have, or just their own conditioning, right? Or who they are as a person. But it's this dangerous mix of, they can make you feel incredibly amazing, and they can also make you feel incredibly lousy about yourself. And it's that combination that's toxic. Because here's the thing, a bad boss, we can deal with that, right? We don't like it, but we can put that person in that bucket. Like, okay, you are grumpy sometimes, and maybe you just steal credit for my work, or you micromanage me, or sometimes the way you talk to me isn't great. But at least it's like we can put, I know my boss isn't the best boss, but I know who they are, and so I can deal with that, right? It's the toxic bosses. Those are the ones that cause the most damage because we're not sure quite what to do with them or where to put them. So here's why I'm making this video in the first place, is that if you have a boss like that, honestly, my advice is you gotta leave there, and you gotta get into a new. It's better to work for a bad boss than somebody who's a toxic boss for the long-term damage. And in fact, if you have ever had people on your staff who you notice maybe they came from someplace else, and it's hard for them to trust, and it's hard for them to really maybe get behind your leadership, and you find out later that it's because they had a bad boss in the past. They actually could have had a toxic boss, and it leaves sort of a PTSD for people. And this is why we have to understand the responsibility that we have as leaders, stay in a growth mindset, and realize I have to continue to get better at my craft in leading people. And honestly, our company, the reason we started it is because we really believe there's a better leader inside of all of us, but we also understand the incredible impact that a leader has in someone's life. Because a leader can leave a lasting legacy, or they can be that, bad boss that people talk about when they go out and commiserate with their friends, or they can have that toxic boss that really brings damage to them emotionally or mentally. That's really, to me, the difference is when a boss brings damage to you emotionally and mentally, and you're not sure what to do with that because it's so messed up. That's a toxic boss, and you want to get out of that situation. So anyways, let me just come back to this. This is why we're so passionate about leadership development, because we know that how a leader leads impacts all of the lives of the people that are under their leadership. And when we can help one leader just get better at leading, then we've actually improved a whole lot of people's lives. So stay in a growth mindset, always be committing to developing your craft as a leader, because in that way, our work is never done. We'll see you soon.